A lot of people want the look of a vaulted tongue and groove wood ceiling, and honestly, who could blame them? They look beautiful, and they're a classic feature of mid-century modern architecture. But the problem with these types of ceilings is that they can often be the cause of a lot of moisture problems in a roof, and even ice damming issues in colder climates. The fact is that a lot of these assemblies are not designed correctly in order to prevent condensation problems in the first place. Tongue and groove ceilings are notoriously leaky because of their nature. They're not standard 4x8 sheets of drywall that are sealed and mudded over. They're typically 1x6 or 1x8 boards that are fitted together and provide a lot of opportunities for air exfiltration from the interior space into the upper part of the roof assembly, or air infiltration from the exterior environment inwards between each one of those individual boards. This isn't a vapor diffusion problem, this is an air leakage problem at its core, whether we're dealing with condensation in these systems or ice damming. In order to understand the problem, we first need to understand how older tongue and groove ceilings actually worked and why we generally didn't see issues with them. Whether they were constructed in cold, wet climates or hot and dry environments like Southern California, historically these types of roofs with exposed tongue and groove were not insulated. The wood boards were kept closer to interior conditions and received an abundant amount of heat flow both from the outside inwards when the sun would bake the moisture out of the roof and drive it back to the interior, as well as from the inside outwards during the colder months when heat would need to be blasted 24/7, and so if they got wet, they dry out relatively quickly. They also have the ability to absorb and store moisture if needed. A lot of the older tongue and groove roof decks were made out of old growth lumber, which was denser and had a higher resin content compared to the fast-growing commodity lumber of today. Basically, these types of roof systems lasted a long time because they were constructed out of more durable materials, and they had the ability to dry out very quickly because they were uninsulated and had a ton of heat flow moving in either direction. The rate of drying exceeded the rate of wetting. Now, the problem occurs when we introduce insulation. What does insulation do? It reduces heat flow in either direction, which is kind of the point because we want to keep our buildings warmer or cooler for a longer period of time so that we're keeping the living space comfortable without having to run our heating and cooling systems 24/7. In roof assemblies with a tongue and groove ceiling or tongue and groove structural deck, this becomes a big problem because we now have to introduce insulation and additional layers above the tongue and groove. So when we introduce insulation above the tongue and groove ceiling or decking, we thermally uncouple the outer layers of components like the sheathing, coverboard, or nail base. Those are now kept closer to outdoor conditions. Now again, the interior ceiling, which is tongue and groove, is going to leak a lot of air. That air has the ability to carry a lot of moisture with it and transport that moisture into the upper part of the roof assembly. That moisture-laden air has the potential to condense on the underside of the sheathing or nail base. This is a problem in both unvented assemblies and vented assemblies. In the unvented assembly, even if we have exterior rigid insulation above the tongue and groove, air can bypass those joints, and moisture can collect in that second layer of sheathing or coverboard material, where it gets trapped under the roof underlayment or roof covering, since many of these underlayment materials and roof coverings are highly vapor impermeable. They're perfect vapor barriers located in the wrong part of the assembly, in the sense that they can't dry outwards. In the vented assembly, if we have a ton of air leakage at the tongue and groove ceiling, and we've insulated above the tongue and groove, then we have to rely on ventilation between each rafter bay or truss bay to carry that moisture away before it has an opportunity to condense on the underside of the sheathing. The problem is that we generally don't have as much of a buffer compared to a traditional vented attic, because there's just less available air above the insulation for that moisture to dissipate, which means that vented vaulted ceilings or cathedral ceilings have less room for error when it comes to interior air leakage. There's also the fact that in colder climates, the incoming air used to vent the roof is going to be higher in relative humidity and won't have the ability to pick up as much moisture, especially since we aren't getting as much heat loss through the ceiling. In the uninsulated or poorly insulated ceilings, the heat loss from the building would warm up the incoming cold air, dropping the relative humidity and allowing it to pick up more moisture from the attic before it exited through the ridge vent. That's not so much the case here when we are insulating to modern building codes and beyond. That also leads us to the ice damming issues in cold climates. Because tongue and groove ceilings are leaky, we can get enough warm air entering the roof assembly to warm up the roof sheathing a few degrees, which can be enough to cause the bottom layer of snow to melt. Snow is a decent insulator at between R1 and R1.5 per inch. If we have heat leaving the building and we can't flush it out fast enough, That heat will result in snow melt at the interface between the snow and the roof covering. That melted snow refreezes at the eaves where it's above unconditioned outdoor space, and we get an ice dam, which not only can cause leaks to occur in the roof when it thaws, but also damage the roof structure and gutters if the ice dam is heavy enough and cause the framing to sag. Not to mention ice dams can be a safety hazard when they slide off the roof. Now, the answer is pretty simple. We need a dedicated air barrier above our tongue and groove ceilings or decking. This is our preferred assembly that will work in pretty much every climate, and for both new construction and retrofits. This is an unvented assembly with rigid insulation with a vented overroof or roof covering. A couple things to note here. We've got 2x furring strips installed over the decking with 3/4 inch sheathing installed above the tongue and groove. What does this do? Well, it does a couple of things. First off, we don't want to penetrate the tongue and groove boards if we want them exposed as an interior finish. A lot of people don't appreciate the appearance of fasteners poking through their expensive tongue and groove ceilings, including myself, but that's just me. The gap created by the 2x and the sheathing allows you to fasten stuff above it without compromising your nice ceiling. More importantly, the furring strips allow you to install things like recessed can lights and conduit above the tongue and groove without poking through the air barrier. The layer of sheathing above the furring strips also provides a more uniform substrate for the air barrier membrane. A lot of manufacturers don't like you to stick their self-adhered products directly against board sheathing because the boards aren't very uniform and stuff doesn't like to stick to them. For the air barrier, you could use something like Grace Ice and Water Shield, or a more premium product from another manufacturer, but the point is we want a self-adhered membrane that's bonded to that substrate, keeping inside air in and outside air out. This provides our environmental separation. Then we've got our rigid insulation layers. This can be any rigid insulation of your choosing, whether it's polyiso, rock wool, extruded polystyrene, or whatever else you want to use. You want to install these in a minimum of 2 layers with staggered and offset joints. In this case, the rigid insulation can either be adhered or mechanically fastened. Then we install an additional layer of furring strips above, along with our nail base, roof underlayment, and roof covering. Now, you can probably swap these last few layers out with something like a vented nail base panel to reduce complexity and the amount of materials that you need to install. We actually have a video discussing this strategy, which you can go and watch up here. Overhangs are provided by outriggers, which are fastened into the roof structure and sit above the structural decking. This helps to reduce fascia depth if needed, depending on what you're trying to achieve aesthetically. You can of course also have those rafter tails exposed, or they can be decorative. This assembly is highly forgiving when it comes to humidity and condensation. We get ice dam prevention with that vented over roof, and we get drying of the upper layer of sheathing in the event that it gets wet. What more could you want? Now for our vented attic option, where we have a decorative tongue and groove ceiling, not a structural one, the technique is going to look similar to the last strategy. However, there's some differences. First off, we need to maintain continuous ventilation between each rafter or truss bay. This is critical in a vented cathedral ceiling, as the bays that don't receive ventilation are prone to moisture accumulation and deterioration. This is non-negotiable for this system to work. We want continuous ventilation at the soffits or through bird blocks, and continuous ventilation at the ridge. We also need to make sure that we're not obstructing the ventilation channel, and so we need to ensure that we have insulation baffles installed to maintain an unrestricted air gap. Alternatively, you could install a sheet of highly permeable building wrap over the trusses or rafters, and then install furring strips above to maintain that ventilation gap. And we actually have a video on this technique which you can go and watch up here. Point is, we need continuous ventilation between the rafters without obstructions. Now, we need to establish our air barrier. In this case, we can use a taped smart vapor retarder membrane installed on the underside of the trusses or ceiling joists. It's easy to install, lightweight, and comes in a roll. It'll also serve as a vapor retarder. However, if there's moisture present, it'll allow the assembly to dry in either direction if needed. Then we strap the ceiling with 2x3s or 2x4s to provide a service cavity below the air barrier and to provide a substrate to attach the tongue and groove without penetrating the air barrier. We can install things like compact recessed cans and electrical conduit without breaching the air barrier or having to air seal around each one of these individual penetrations. The strapping also provides a tertiary benefit in that it will help to support the insulation above the membrane. Then we're free to insulate as much as we want above the air barrier. Guys, if you found this video helpful, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more weekly building science videos, and head over to our website at asiri-designs.com where we have over 150 free building science articles that cover a wide range of topics. Links will be in the description below. For now, good luck with your projects. Cheers.